Good morning. This is pre-algebra for Thursday, April the 23rd. We're going to be looking at lesson 86 again today. Let's do a little bit of review, getting our minds back to working. When I have this very complicated looking algebra set here, what does each negative sign mean? It simply means not negative, but it means the opposite of. So I'm going the opposite of the opposite of the opposite of the opposite of -1. Now that sounds very complicated. We learned a not much better way of doing it. So just bring your 1 over and do what? Count the opposite signs. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 5 is an odd number, so that means my answer is a -1. Okay? Let's look at this one. We have a problem where we want to do algebraic addition. Algebraic addition simply means the sign goes with the number and we're adding everything, okay? So, -6 plus -3 is -9. -9 plus -2 is -11. When I get here, I have a subtraction sign. I'm going to write here -11 because that's what the problem is up to this point. I have to change this subtraction sign to a addition sign. In order to do that, I have to change the negative here to a +3. So now I have -11 plus +3. My answer is -8. Okay, let's look at this problem. It's in your book on page 243, number 13. It says, find the volume. And how do we find volume? No matter what our shape, we say it is the total area times height, okay? So find the volume of the right solid whose base is shown on the left and whose sides are 3 inches high. Your dimensions are all in inches. What are my two shapes here? First, I have a semicircle, and then I have a triangle. Because remember, what's my formula? Total volume equals total area times the height. So how do I find the total area? The total area is going to be the area of my semicircle plus the area of my triangle times my height. Now, what is the formula to find the area of the semicircle? Well, we're going to say the volume is for the area of our semicircle. Look at your diagram, either on the board or in your book. And if you do, you'll see that your diagram, it says that your semicircle has a radius of 10. What's our formula? Our formula is pi times radius squared, right? Okay, and we're going to divide that by 2. Should have written it a little higher. Plus our triangle, which is going to be base times height, divided by 2. Multiplying that by height. Now let's go in and fill it all in. So our volume is going to be pi times radius of 10 times radius squared divided by 2 plus base, which our base is 30 in our triangle, times our height. And the height of our triangle is what? Our height is 20. How did we get 20? Well, if you swing this around, this radius, from radius to this edge is 10. And from the center up is 10. So the entire dotted line is 20. Divided by 2. And our book told us that our height was 3 inches. Okay? So now we simply need to solve. If we do that, we say 10 times 10 is 100. 100 divided by 2 is 50. So this equals 50 pi. Now go over here. And we have 30 times 20 divided by 2. And because we get 600 divided by 2, we now have 300. When we're all done, we're going to multiply that by 3 inches. Okay? So now we have to say 50 pi plus 300. Okay? And then we're going to take that, multiply it by 3. So we're going to get our volume is going to be 1,371 cubic inches. The most important part of this problem, honestly, is this up here. And so many of you just want to skip it. Like, oh, I know what to do. I'm just going to go down to here. You want to skip 1, 2, and 3. This is what's going to build your logic so you can make sure this step right here is correct. Write it out. I know there will come a point when you can do it in your head. But right now, Mrs. Turner wants you to write it out so I can make sure you understand it. Let's look at this over here. This is what we were working on yesterday. We have negative a plus ya. We want to evaluate this using negative numbers. If a is a negative 1 and y is a negative 2, what does our equation mean? Step 1 is write the equation. We did that. Step 2 is what? Substitute. Just put your numbers in. Okay, so we're going to say the opposite of a, and a is negative 1, plus y, which is negative 2, times a, which is negative 1. Okay? This negative sign on the outside means the opposite. So the opposite of negative 1 is positive 1. So it is 1. Plus, what is negative 2 times negative 1? Well, 2 times 1 is 2. Since they're both negative, my answer is positive. So I can just write this, and my answer is 3. Look at the top. We have negative x minus xy. Okay, so we're going to substitute with, we have the opposite of, x is negative 2, minus, again, x is negative 2, times y, which is positive 4. Now we have to work it out. What is the opposite of negative 2? Positive 2. Okay, minus, now what is negative 2 times 4? Negative 8. Of course, we can't subtract, so we have to change that to make an algebraic addition. So we're going to say, we're going to change this sign to a plus, which means I have to change this as well. So 2 plus 8 is 10. Okay? If that does not make sense, if you're still having trouble with those, I really need you to comment below, or I'm going to have to assume that you understand. Look at the next one. 3 3/4 divided by 6 3/8 is equal to 1/4 over x. What is x? How do I solve this problem? Hopefully you said cross multiply. Okay, so we're going to say 3 3/4 x is equal to 6 3/8 times 1/4. I'm going to erase some of this. Give us some room. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to make everything improper. So, 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 3. Okay. Now we're going to say 6 times 8 is 48 plus 3. 51 over 8 times 1/4. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to say, how am I going to solve this? Well, I'm going to use the reciprocal, right? I don't really need to solve that yet because I'm going to get rid of this at the same time. The reciprocal of 15/4 is 4/15. So I'm going to multiply by 4 over 15. Why? Because that means to multiply, and we're going to do the opposite of what it says. We're going to divide. But when you divide with a fraction, you use its reciprocal. Whatever you do on the left, you have to do on the right. So now we're going to bring that over here as well. Let's erase this and give us a little more room. Okay? Now, this is all going to cancel, leaving us only the x. On this side, is there anything that I can cancel? Well, sure. The 2 4s are going to cancel. I cannot cancel the 51 and the 15, can I? Think that through. 5 plus 1 is 6. That means 51 is divisible by 3. 5 plus 1 is 6. That means 15 is divisible. But I can reduce each of those by 3. Well, 3 goes into 15 5 times. 3 goes into 5 one time with 2 left over, giving us 3 into 21 is 7, giving us a 17. Okay, remember, you look for ways to use your divisibility rules. That's why we learned them early on in the year. 17 times 1 is 17. And 8 times 1 times 5 is 40. So our answer, x equals 17 over 40. All right, let's look back at your book. I think I have time maybe to do one more problem. And the one I want to do is number 20. It says 3 square plus 2 square brackets 2 cubed, the square root of 36 minus 2 squared. And then we have another parentheses. Please write this down. 1 plus the square root of 16, parentheses, minus the cube root of 27 over 125. Okay, though it looks complicated, it's really not, okay? So let's go through it. What do we know about orders of operation? We have to do the things that are in the parentheses first, okay? We do powers, exponents, and parentheses. Okay, we can only do these. We can't combine anything. We can only get rid of them right now. Okay, so 3 square is 9. 2 square is 4. Bring down our bracket. 2 to the third power, that's 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, okay? Now we have parentheses. The square root of 36 is 6, minus 2 squared is 4, parentheses again, 1, plus the square root of 16 is 4, parentheses, minus the cube root of 27 125ths. Do it one at a time. What's the cube root of 27? Well, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So the numerator is going to be 3. What's the cubed root of 125? Hopefully you said 5. Okay? Now, we forget the top row. Look only at our second row. We got rid of our powers and our exponents. Now we're going to focus on our parentheses. Okay? We can't do anything with the 9 and the 4 or the bracket and the 8. We look at this parenthesis and say 6 minus 4 is 2. This parenthesis, 1 plus 4 is 5. Then we're going to say minus 3/5. Okay? My bracket over there. Now, what are we going to do next? We're going to multiply where we can. So we're going to say 9 plus 4, still keeping our bracket. 8 times 5 is 40. 40 times 2 is 80. 80 minus 3/5. I think my bracket was supposed to go there, sorry. So then we're just going to put our bracket minus 3/5, okay? Now, we have to look at the orders again, and it's getting a little low for you to see, but I have 9 plus 4 bracket 80 bracket minus 3/5. So I'm going to take my 4 and my times my 80 and say 9 times 4 times 80 is 320 minus 3/5. Now I have 9 plus 320 minus 3/5. Well, that's 329 minus 3/5. My answer is going to be 328 and 2/5. I hope that made a good explanation for you. Just a little bit of practice, a little review today. Okay? I hope these papers help you as you do your homework. All right, have a great day, guys. I miss you.